Okay, we're here at the AFP in Brisbane, and we've got Stop Killing Us, Jangan Bunuh Kami Lagi, because we know the AFP are training killers. But today, our special thing is that we are looking into Victor Yeimo. Victor Yeimo is in jail in West Papua, and we want to see Free Victor Yeimo.
Free Victor.
Free Victor Yeimo.
Free Victor Yeimo.
Free Victor Yeimo.
Free Victor Yeimo.
So welcome. Would somebody like to just acknowledge us here we're here on Yagara country? Would somebody like to acknowledge that we're here on Yagara country? Would you like to acknowledge?
Yeah, we acknowledge the country that we are standing on, that we are protesting on, is Jagara and Turrbal country. We give thanks for the legacy. We stand in solidarity with all First Nation peoples, but particularly with West Papuans today and Victor Yeimo.
So we acknowledge that this country was never ceded, and that the First Nation struggle that we have here on this country is now being played out in a very similar way in West Papua, in one of the provinces, the so-called provinces of so-called Indonesia. So we're here today to remember Victor Yeimo, and we want to welcome you, and we imagine that we will be welcoming many West Papuans onto this live feed. We're here at the AFP, the Australian Federal Police, and we'll be talking more about how the Australian Federal Police are connected to the arrest and incarceration, long-term incarceration of Victor Yeimo. So we want to say a big shout out to our friends in West Papua. We want to say we're watching you, we see you, and we hear you, and we hear that you have been struggling against this oppression, and that you have been fighting against the racism of West Papua, of the Indonesian state. And we want to remind people that what is happening in West Papua is very similar to what has happened in this land in Australia against First Nations people. It's part of the colonial story of Terra Australis. You can see in that photo what happened. So welcome. We know that you're working very hard there in West Papua, but we're also talking to our Australian. We want Australians to get involved in our Make West Papua campaign, Make West Papua Safe campaign, and we're trying to ask the AFP to stop training killers. The AFP, of course, are training people in JCLEC in Jakarta, in the Jakarta Center for Law Enforcement Cooperation. You can see we're here at AFP this morning. So welcome everybody, that's our welcome. And we might bring you to stand up here. Sort of somewhere. Yeah. Perfect. So we're here because Victor Yeimo has been imprisoned, and maybe we'll hear from Peter. Peter, you ready to speak? And Katrina, we're just thinking that Katrina here might do a little bit of translation, just summary translation is good.
Oh, sure.
After a long set. So we're first going to hear from Peter, who's going to tell us the story in Bahasa of what's going on.
Yes,
Okay, I wanna ask this. Thank you everyone to come and support what's been happening in West Papua, especially today. Victor Yeimo been arrested. Not only Victor Yeimo, but there are a lot more West Papuan activists, the freedom fighters. They're standing up for their rights. They're just being arrested. And here, the reason why we are here is because of AFP being trained and funded Indonesian soldiers to kill West Papuans. That's the reason why we are here, and Victor Yeimo is one of the examples that the result of the bilateral relationship during this training. Shame!
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 Yes. I'm gonna speak in Indonesian a little bit. Yeah. Ya, kami sekarang ada di kantor IFP. Kami ada di tempat ini untuk protes IFP, Australian Federal Police. Mereka melatih tentara, polisi, militer Indonesia, dan akibat dari kerjasama mereka, kami orang West Papua menjadi korban. Makanya kami ada di tempat ini untuk protes. Stop menangkap orang Papua. Stop membunuh orang Papua. Stop mengejar orang Papua. Stop label orang Papua sebagai teroris. Stop. Okay, free Victor Yeimo.
Free Victor Yeimo!
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 Free West Papuan activists!
Free West Papuan activists!
Free West Papuan activists!
Free West Papuan activists!
Free Victor Yeimo!
Free Victor Yeimo!
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so just yeah, our friend is going to just translate a little bit of what our friend Peter just said.
Okay. The main thing that Peter just said, thank you, terima kasih banyak, was that we're here protesting the AFP training of Indonesian police, military police in Indonesia, and that the casualties of that are West Papuan people. Stop calling West Papuan people as terrorists. Stop killing West Papuan people. Stop hurting West Papuan people, and asking for solidarity with Victor Yeimo and all West Papuan activists.
Thank you. Thank you. So I just want to make a little bit more of the picture here of why are we at the AFP. The AFP have been cooperating with the with the Indonesian police. They have been organising a centre for law enforcement in Jakarta, and they work there together all at one, the AFP and the Indonesian police. So they have trained over the last 15 years, they have trained a lot of the senior police in West Papua or in Indonesia, and those senior police are now operating across the nation, but especially in really dangerous ways in West Papua. And we want to really draw attention to people that we know work with the Indonesian police and the AFP, and that is Boy Rafli Amar. Boy Rafli Amar is the head of the national terrorist organisation in Indonesia. He has been known to be working closely with the AFP. He has opened events for the at JCLEC with the AFP that the AFP have attended. And we know that he has set up the Nemankawi Task Force. It's a Satgas Nemankawi, which is a special terrorist unit that is behind the arrest and incarceration of our friend Victor Yeimo, who was just protesting with his friends the racism of Indonesia against the West Papuans. So they had been in 2019 protesting racism. West Papuans were being called monkeys, and they had raids, and they've been treated like second-class citizens. And in response, West Papuans said, no, we are just with you, we are the same, we are all together, and we're protesting this type of racism. So that is why we say Papuan lives matter, Black lives matter, and that these people have not, he has been charged with treason, and his actions were not about treason. They were the sort of action that you or me would take to stop racism in our country. And so we know that they have been arrested by a terrorist task force, right, for these actions, for normal citizens' responses to oppression in their country. And so we want to say, and then he has been held since May, that's almost 6 months. He's been held, he's now in hospital, he's very unwell, and he's still being held and he's still imprisoned. So we are here to say that the AFP need to take some responsibility here. They trained Boy Rafliama, they trained Sangaji, and they are training people who are now rolling out the military operations in West Papua, terrorising people, working with the TNI Polri are working together, the army, the military and the police, and they're dropping bombs. And like, I'm serious, like, I'm not even making this up. They're dropping rockets on churches. We know Taylors and the military companies are making money selling these weapons.
Shame!
Shame! So we are here today just to remember that these are real people. Boy Roughly Army, he is a real person, and he is being trained by these people at the AFP. And we want the AFP to stop, to pull out of their arrangements with the Indonesians while the Indonesians are committing these sorts of human rights abuses and unjust jailings, incarceration, unjust incarceration. These are people just like us, people leading non-violent civil resistance movements. It's not a big country, West Papua. Everybody knows, everyone's connected. And these people are just like us, are ordinary people trying to stop what is going on there, trying to stop the militarisation of their land and their traditional lands. So we're gonna that's the more complex story, but we really want to get you involved, make West Papua safe. It's trying to stop these arrangements with Indonesia. We want AFP to stop their arrangement with the Indonesian police. So we're now going to have some music. With our friends here are going to play some music, some West Papua music, and just to remind the AFP that this is a rich culture, people with rich ideas, and who should be in charge of their own land.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, we're gonna sing one of the songs. This song is an old song, but it was sung by Black Orchid String Band down in Melbourne. So yeah, since it was recorded, and then it's been sung for, Kampanye, songs for the protest. So yeah, we're gonna sing this song. The song called Kampanye. Yeah. Kampanye, Kampanye. You do titi tima alua, tima alua. Kampanye. You do titi tima alua, tima alua.
This is a song that was, it's in traditional language, and this was first recorded by Arnold App, who was imprisoned by Indonesia and was found killed, and so I guess like people like Victor Yeimo were trying to stop this from happening again to people like him, so yeah, this is a beautiful song called Kampanye. We're going to do Hidup Ini Suatu Misteri. This was another Arnold App song. This was an original of his, and it was the last song he wrote before he was killed, so it was snuck out of prison by a person who came to visit him, and later his body was found washed up on a beach, and yeah, this song is about longing for freedom. So we think about people like Victor Yeimo. Suatu misteri terbayang juga tak terduga. Beginilah
Well, this song is called Freedom, and it's written by one of PNG musicians called Josh Dalek. So this song pretty much sings about injustice still happening in West Papua. When the sun goes up, sun comes down. Injustice is still happening in West Papua under Indonesian occupations, and IP here contribute, that violence in West Papua. So now the reason why we are here, we demand to stop all the violations in West Papua. Well, thank you. Free Victor Yeimo!
Free Victor Yeimo!
Free Victor Yeimo!
Free Victor Yeimo!
Yeah, this song is about freedom. Pray. Sunny go down, sunny come up, nobody's happening. Long West Papua. Sunny go down, sunny come up, nobody's happening. Long West Papua. Like a freedom, freedom, long West Papua. All you want to belong to me. It's like a freedom, freedom, long West Papua. All you want to belong to me. Only run away number. Only run away number. Long people only like in freedom. Outside by Hollywood. Freedom, ayo, freedom, from West Papua. All ones all belong to me. All ones all belong to me. I think belong all. Now believe belong all. Long independence and Palestine. I think belong all. Now believe belong all. Long independence one Palestine. Can say freedom, only like a freedom, freedom, West Papua, the one all you need. Only like a freedom, ayo, freedom, long West Papua, all the ones all belong to you. Okay, one more time. Free Victor Yeimo!
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 So just summarising again that the AFP have trained the people who arrested Victor Yeimo. Okay? So the AFP are the ones who trained the Indonesian police, Boy Rafliama. They trained him. They are cooperating with him, and he is the one who is arresting ordinary citizens for anti-racism activity. He has set up a terrorism unit, the Satgas Namankawi Task Force. This terrorism unit is targeting ordinary citizens, people who are leading their communities, people who are involved in citizens and civil resistance movements in their country. They are First Nations people, and we remember that we are here on First Nations country in Turrbal, Yagara country, here in this place in the so-called Valley or Newstead, you know, where this is very early colonisation here, where people were hounded out of this place as well. So we want to remember that this is the same thing that's going on in West Papua, and we can look to West Papua to see what happened in our own country with the combination, the joining together of the police and the military to militarise the First Nations territory. And the First Nations people are saying, no, we can organise our own country. Yes. We can organise our own arrangements.
Yes.
We are as good as the Indonesian people, and racism is not to be directed at us. So Papuan lives matter.
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 And they're saying, jangan bunuh kami lagi. Jangan bunuh kami lagi.
Get your armies off our bodies.
Jangan bunuh kami lagi.
Get your armies off our bodies.
Jangan bunuh kami lagi.
Get your armies off our bodies.
They are saying, get your armies off our bodies. Get your armies out of our country. We don't want more military bases, because more military bases mean more terrorising. These military bases, they're just like the native police bases that they set up dotted around Queensland in the 1860s and 70s. This is the same thing that's happening. They're putting military bases, and wherever there is a military base, they then terrorise the population and kill people. And right now, I think we know that there's a massive movement of refugees out of people's own territory, and it's like 2,000 or more displaced people just from the last few months. And Sangadi. So we also know that in a place like Merauke, the chief of police, who was trained by the AFP, the chief of police has been involved in the death of local activists. So we know
Murderer.
he's a murderer. So somebody like Sangaji, somebody like Boy Rafliami, these people were trained by the AFP. They are in relationship, they're close friends with the AFP. And the AFP have a responsibility to make sure the people they are training are not committing human rights violations and not terrorising and killing people. Christine, you want to say something?
Shame, Boy Rafliami, shame!
Shame.
Boy Rafliami, shame!
Shame.
AFP, shame!
Shame.
AFP!
The AFP, we've got a letter to give the AFP that tells them what's going on, that they can pass to their management. We've also done actions at the AFP in the last month in Canberra to say that the AFP have to stop training killers. We want some accountability in Australia for these activities. They have no accountability. They don't have an evaluation or arrangement. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know where their people go. And we just... we're saying that Australia, our Australian institutions, should not be involved in West Papua. And if they are, we're going to speak up about it with West Papuans. So they're going to come out soon?
I hope so, yes.
Does somebody else want to say something? That would be great to hear from somebody else.
Go, Kathleen.
No, not me.
Yeah, I just want to say, like the
this military presence in Indonesia, a lot of people will ask, what does Australia have to do with this? Well, the Australian military, Peter Dutton has signed a new deal with the Indonesian Defence Minister to train Indonesian cadets in Duntroon, Australia's military academy. These people are being trained to go into West Papua and chase people out of their homes. Why are they doing this? They're doing this because the Indonesian ruling class and the Australian ruling class are connected to mining interests in West Papua. These people, the ministers in Indonesia, they have material interests connected to mining companies in West Papua where people are being chased out of their homes so mines can be set up to dig gold out of West Papua so that these ruling class people can enrich themselves at the suffering of everybody else. And this is just not good enough.
Shame!
We should not stand by while our government cooperates with such atrocity. Shame!
Shame!
Shame AFP!
Shame, AFP! Shame!
Does anybody else want to say something?
We came here in solidarity with all the people that are suppressed by oppressive government. The case of Victor Yeimo is close to us because it happens in our neighborhood, and it involves people we are forced to trust for our safety. But these people don't spread safety, they spread terror. People in uniform, in dark black uniforms, they spread terror like they spread it here in on this land for a long, long time and still do. And now we are exporting terror from Australia to our neighbors in West Papua. As a civil society we call ourselves, this is unacceptable. We have to end the support for useless violence, for exporting weapons and exporting techniques how to kill and suppress non-violent protesters. And that's exactly what is happening right now, and that's why we're here, and we are asking the AFP to act as public servants and not as providers of terror. And we have met so many lovely people from West Papua, and we're all just people. It doesn't matter what skin color, it doesn't matter what religion, what sexual orientation, we are people. And these are brothers and our sisters. And to act violently against our brothers and sisters is just absolutely unacceptable. And we say no.
No!
No!
We say no!
No! No consent to violence paid by the Australian government.
And our taxpayers.
And our tax dollars. Thanks, Christine.
Well said, Wendy.
Does anybody else want to speak? Especially women, non-gender, people.
I want to say that it's really important that we do everything in our power to try and stop militarization of Indonesia, because in my country what happened is that the United States assisted the government of El Salvador to oppress its peasant population, to take away their land, to take away their rights. And what happened is that millions of people became disadvantaged as a result. 80,000 died. Others that weren't counted in the number of people that died are people who died from preventable diseases like malnutrition or like a basic infection, and then they just died. Women that died giving birth because they didn't have an appropriate amount of resources that was designated to them, so that they could, because all the resources were being taken by the government, they were taken by the elite classes. And so then there was this huge amount of human rights resources, human rights violations that took place. But what happened afterwards is that the minds of the youth that grew up watching this violence, it became so damaged that today there's even more violence in El Salvador than there was during the Civil War. And today we have more political refugees coming out of El Salvador than we had during the Civil War. And that's because, like, something like this happens right now, but the aftermath continues. So I see the correlation between what's happening right now in West Papua and what could happen later on. So it's really important that, like, something is done right now, because when you grow up watching your mother get raped, watching that, like, your uncles get killed, feeling that you live in danger, then when you grow up, you're messed up. You have all this trauma, and when you have trauma and violence is normalized, then what happens is that creates like a generation of damaged people that think that violence is normalized. So I think it's really, really important that the Australian Federal Police stops training people in Indonesia the way that something should have been done to stop the United States government from supporting El Salvadorian government to oppress its people.
Oh, what an awesome speech. What an awesome idea. Like, we need to think about that this militarization moves into the future, and this is people's experience. Many Australians come from war-torn areas, and they know that trauma lives with them through the generations. Even those of us who are Irish know that British militarism that happened, 400 years ago in Ireland still lives through our generations. So thank you so much for that, remembering that the militarizations of countries doesn't decrease violence, but it increases it over time. So, thank you. I just wanted to say a couple more things about Boy Rafliama. Boy Rafliama also started D88, which Detachment 88 is a militarized special force. Boy Rafliama has been in contact with the AFP, has been trained by the AFP, and he has started this Detachment 88, which has been responsible for extrajudicial killings in West Papua. He was also the police chief during the time of the Kampanye massacre in 2014, and he oversaw other extrajudicial killings in that time. So these are people who have histories of terrorizing the communities that they're overseeing. So we're saying to the AFP, stop training killers. So I'm going to say AFP, and you're going to say, stop training killers. AFP!
Stop training killers!
AFP!
Stop training killers!
AFP!
Stop training killers!
Jangan bunuh kami lagi!
Get your armies off our bodies!
Jangan bunuh kami lagi!
Get your armies off our bodies!
Jangan bunuh kami lagi!
Get your armies off our bodies!
Stop killing us!
Stop killing us!
This is our message. We need the AFP to stop killing our friends. Victor Yeimo is a personal friend of ours, right? He's not just some random person. He's someone that people in our movement are friends with, right? So we just have to remind you, these are about people who are our friends. It's a small world today, and people in our movement have been to West Papua. They have worked with these people. They are friends with these people. So Victor Yeimo is suffering in a hospital. He's still under guard. He's still in a military hospital, and we want to see him free. That is an enormous movement. I want you to all follow the movement in West Papua, and we want you West Papuans to know that we see you. We see the organising you're doing. We see and we hear what you're telling us, because it's awesome to see so many people organised in West Papua, and we just want to really acknowledge that.
I want to say one more thing. I want to say that it's very clear to us that the Indonesian government is very, very intent on silencing Victor Yeimo. Victor Yeimo does nothing but speak out against the racism and violence that West Papuans receive at the hands of the Indonesian military, and they lock him up in confinement without access to his family or lawyers. This is not good. This is shameful.
Shame!
But they cannot silence the message of Victor Yeimo. As long as Victor Yeimo is silenced, we will come out and protest on his behalf, and we will spread the message, and they cannot stop it.
Woo!
So are they coming out, or should we finish off with a song?
There's someone, Margie?
Oh, we've got somebody here right now. Maybe the video can go up there.
Run away, you little fascist dog. Go back to your office so you can push buttons to kill people. Someone's trying to get through.
Okay, we're just going to have a song. And we're just going to finish off now. So thank you. Yeah, Katrina's just going to say
Saya di sini sebagai orang Indonesia dan juga sebagai orang Australia. I'm here as an Indonesian and an Australian. I'm here because I want to show solidarity to the people of West Papua dari Australia dan juga dari orang Indonesia. Karena aku tahu, I understand the rights for sovereignty, the rights for your own land, the rights for your water, the rights to raise your family. We all deserve to raise and be with our families and with the people that we love in peace. So I'm here because Victor Yeimo is a person just like us, with a family, with attachment to his land, to the people who are around him, who has had, because of the situation that he finds himself in, had to fight for the right to be a human being, to be seen as a human being, for his people to be seen as human beings and treated as human beings with the equal justice and kindness that he deserves and that all of West Papuans, that all human beings deserve. So we're here because the AFP has a long history of training with Indonesian military. And we know that the Indonesian military are directly involved in West Papua. And we know that the situation there is dire and that the situation has been causing harm, torture, trauma, and murder for a long time. So we ask for sovereignty, as we do in this nation, for sovereignty for the indigenous people of West Papua, for indigenous people all over the world, for indigenous people on this land. So I'm asking to free Victor Yeimo.
Free Victor Yeimo!
And remove the AFP attachment to training with the Indonesian military as long as the Indonesian military are oppressing the people. The Indonesian motto, national motto, is Bhinneka Tunggal Ika. What that means is unity in diversities. You cannot have unity under oppression. You cannot force unity. You cannot murder into unity. Unity has to come from freedom. Unity has to come from choice. Bhinneka Tunggal Ika itu bukan hanya kata-kata. Itu bukan hanya words that we use. Yeah? Bhinneka Tunggal Ika has to be something that we use in our daily practice. Kita tidak bisa sebagai orang Indonesia allow the things that are happening here, allow and sit by quietly while the AFP train the Indonesian military to oppress the people of Indonesia. And oppress the people, and Papua at the moment are people of Indonesia, oppressing their own citizens. Ini kita nggak boleh diakui. We can't sit by silently. So free Victor Yeimo.
Free Victor Yeimo.
Free West Papua.
Free West Papua.
Terima kasih. So thank you so much for coming. We're going to finish with the song. We really appreciate that you came today, and that we are talking with the AFP. We're trying to get meetings between the AFP and human rights defenders in West Papua. We are ready. Now we're going to just have our song, and we'll finish the live feed. Thank you so much for you in West Papua for joining us. We see you. We are here on Yagaran Turrbal country in so-called Meanton, and this is country never ceded, and we thank you all for coming.
Get your armies off our bodies! 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 Get your armies off our bodies!